Stop scrolling. Just listen. You were meant to hear this today. Welcome to my channel.
Chosen one, there were moments you should not have survived. Moments where the outcome could have gone another way. Moments where logic says you shouldn't be here right now. And yet, you are. Not by luck, not by coincidence, but by divine intervention. Let me ask you something quietly, honestly. Have you ever looked back and thought, that should have ended me? A near miss, a sudden turn, an unexplainable delay, a decision you almost made but didn't, a situation where protection showed up without warning. If your spirit is stirring right now, it's because this is not fear. This is revelation. Hear me clearly, chosen one. This message is not for everyone. Only those marked by God will understand it. Only those who have walked through danger and came out untouched will recognize the truth in these words. If you are chosen, your soul already knows there were forces working behind the scenes to preserve you. This is a divine message, and it reached you intentionally at the exact moment you were meant to hear it. Through prophetic dreams, through quiet nudges, through angelic visitation, through moments of spiritual encounter, heaven has been speaking to you for years. Today, the message becomes clear. Your timeline was interrupted because your assignment is not finished. So pause with me for a moment. If this resonates, if you know protection has followed your life, type 777 or 444 in the comments as a sign of agreement. Make sure you subscribe, tap the bell icon, and share this message with someone who needs confirmation today. Because chosen one, you were not meant to be gone, you were meant to be preserved. What death was delayed really means. Chosen one, when we say your death was delayed, we are not speaking in fear, drama, or darkness. We are speaking in spiritual truth. This is revelation, not intimidation. A delayed death does not mean you were meant to die and somehow escaped by chance. It means heaven stepped into a moment that could have ended your journey and said, not yet. It means God interrupted a timeline that was moving toward destruction and redirected it toward purpose. In the spiritual realm, time is not rigid the way humans experience it. God is not bound by clocks, calendars, or probabilities. He sees outcomes before choices are made. When death is delayed, it is because God intervened at a precise moment to preserve what He Himself planted. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is divine authority overriding a natural outcome. A divine interruption happens when God steps into the flow of events and alters the result. You were walking toward a moment that could have ended you, but heaven intervened. Sometimes it looks subtle, sometimes it looks dramatic, but it is always intentional. The interruption does not always feel miraculous in the moment. Often, it feels ordinary. A pause, a delay, a change of plans, a sudden obstacle, a voice telling you not to go, a door that would not open. These are the fingerprints of God on your timeline. Now let's bring clarity to something important, because not all dangerous moments are the same. There is a difference between close calls, near misses, and divine intervention. A close call is when danger was present, but your actions or circumstances naturally kept you safe. You were alert. You reacted quickly. You made a wise choice. There is responsibility involved. A near miss is when the outcome almost happened, but timing or positioning prevented it. You were inches away, seconds away, one decision away. Both of these can happen to anyone. But divine intervention is different. Divine intervention is when there is no logical explanation, when your instincts do not explain it, when skill does not explain it, when probability does not explain it. Something unseen stepped in. A delay occurred that should not have happened. A protection surrounded you that you did not ask for. A warning came without words. A barrier appeared out of nowhere. A situation shifted just enough to preserve your life. That is not a close call. That is not a near miss. That is heaven overriding the outcome. Chosen ones experience divine intervention more frequently than others because their lives are not ordinary. Their timelines are tied to assignment. Their existence carries weight. Their survival affects others. When God places purpose inside someone, he becomes personally involved in their preservation. Darkness may attempt to interrupt that purpose early, but God does not allow what he authored to be erased before its time. This is why many chosen ones can look back and identify moments that still don't make sense. Times when you should have been harmed, but weren't. Times when the situation collapsed around you, but you remained intact. Times when others were affected, but you were spared. Times when you walked away untouched while logic says you shouldn't have. These moments were not random. They were checkpoints. Heaven stepping in and saying, "This life is still needed." Another reason chosen ones experience these delays is awareness. Chosen ones are often more spiritually sensitive. They notice protection where others dismiss it. They remember moments others forget. They feel the weight of preservation. While others move on quickly, chosen ones pause and ask, "Why am I still here?" That question itself is evidence of calling. Understand this clearly. A delayed death does not mean danger will follow you forever. It means danger failed to finish its assignment. It means the attempt was blocked. It means the enemy miscalculated the authority guarding your life. When God delays death, he is not postponing fear, he is preserving destiny. You were not spared so you could live recklessly. You were preserved so you could live purposefully. Heaven does not interrupt timelines without reason. If God stepped into yours, it is because something ahead of you requires your breath, your voice, your testimony, your obedience. Chosen one, your survival is not a mystery to heaven, it is a message. And now that you understand what death delayed really means, you can stop questioning why you're still here and start preparing for why you were kept, why the enemy targeted you early. Chosen one, if you look back over your life and notice danger appearing earlier than it should have, pain showing up sooner than expected, or pressure arriving before you were ready, understand this truth clearly. The enemy targets destiny before destiny is revealed. Darkness does not wait for you to become fully aware of who you are. It attacks early, quietly, and strategically, hoping to erase what heaven has already marked. Spiritual opposition against chosen ones begins long before they understand their calling. The enemy does not need you to know who you are in order to fear who you will become. Your presence alone was a threat. Your spirit carried something before your mind could name it. That is why resistance showed up so early in your life. That is why challenges appeared when you were still forming. That is why danger hovered around seasons that should have been simple and protected. Darkness always tries to cut destiny short, because destiny disrupts darkness. A chosen one is not just an individual. They are a carrier. They carry light, truth, awakening, healing, and alignment. Even before your calling became visible, your spirit registered in the unseen realm. The enemy recognized that if you reached a certain point of maturity, clarity, and obedience, you would no longer be stoppable. So the strategy was never to fight you later. It was to end the story early. This is why many chosen ones experienced intense pressure in childhood, not always in obvious ways, but through instability, emotional trauma, unsafe environments, sickness, neglect, or moments that felt far too heavy for such a young age. The enemy often attacks early through confusion, fear, or exposure, hoping to fracture identity before it forms. If a child grows up disconnected from safety, the enemy hopes they will never fully trust God. But what the enemy did not understand is that God was already shielding you, even when you didn't know his name yet. For some chosen ones, the danger appeared during teenage years. This is often when identity begins to solidify and the enemy intensifies opposition. Reckless situations, risky decisions, near disasters, wrong influences, moments where one step in a different direction could have altered everything. This is not coincidence. Teenage years are often where destiny tries to surface, and darkness responds with distraction, temptation, and danger. The enemy's goal is simple: derail the path before it becomes clear. Others felt the weight in early adulthood. Moments of emotional collapse, dangerous relationships, sudden illnesses, situations where everything felt overwhelming all at once. Pressure came fast. Life moved hard. You may have felt like you were surviving more than living. Again, this was not random. Early adulthood is often where chosen ones begin to awaken spiritually. Even if you were not consciously seeking God, your spirit was moving toward purpose. And darkness does not ignore movement. It reacts to it. But here is the truth that changes everything. Every time the enemy reached for you, God stepped in first. You were shielded repeatedly because your assignment was not complete. Heaven does not abandon what it authors. God does not allow darkness to erase what he planted. Even when danger came close, it was never allowed to finish its sentence over your life. Think about it. How many times did something stop just short? How many times did timing shift unexpectedly? How many times did help arrive without explanation? How many times did you walk away when others didn't? How many times did the situation collapse, but you remained standing? That was not resilience alone. That was divine covering. God shielded you not because you were perfect, but because you were purposeful. You may not have been praying yet. You may not have known scripture. You may not have been aware of your calling, but heaven was already aware of you. Your life was under surveillance, not by darkness, but by God. Angels were assigned before you ever understood their presence. Protection surrounded you before you could name it. The enemy underestimated one thing: God's authority over your timeline. Darkness can attempt interruption, but it cannot override divine permission. Every attempt that came against you required access, and access was denied. Not because the enemy didn't try, but because God said no, again and again. Your assignment required time, and heaven made sure you had it. This is also why you may feel a deep sense of purpose now that you cannot fully explain. You survived things that should have shaped you into bitterness, fear, or destruction, but instead they shaped you into depth, awareness, and spiritual sensitivity. That is evidence of divine intervention. Trauma that should have crushed you, refined you. Pressure that should have broken you, strengthened you. Survival that should have hardened you, awakened you. Chosen one, understand this clearly and without fear. The enemy targeted you early because your destiny is not small. Small destinies are ignored. Ordinary lives are left alone. But a life that will awaken others, disrupt cycles, break generational patterns, and carry light into dark places is watched closely by darkness. And yet, despite all of that, you are still here. God shielded you repeatedly because your assignment was not finished then, and it is not finished now. Your survival was not accidental. It was strategic. Heaven preserved you through seasons you did not understand, so you could arrive at this moment with clarity. Now, instead of asking why life was hard early, you can finally see the truth. You were protected because you are needed. The enemy tried to stop the story before it began. God made sure the story continued. The first delay, the season you should have been lost. Chosen one, there is usually a first moment in your life that carries more weight than you realized at the time. A season where, looking back now, you can say with honesty, I should not have made it through that. This was not the loudest delay. It was not the most dramatic, but it was the most foundational. This was the first time heaven quietly stepped in and redirected your story. For many chosen ones, this first delay came through illness, a sickness that lingered longer than expected, a diagnosis that did not make sense, a moment when the body weakened beyond reason, yet recovery came without clear explanation. You may have been too young to understand the seriousness of it then, or too unaware to recognize what was happening spiritually. But heaven saw it clearly. What could have progressed, stopped. What should have worsened, reversed. Strength returned when logic said it shouldn't. That was not coincidence. That was protection. That was heaven placing a boundary where danger tried to cross. For others, the first delay came through an accident. Something sudden, something unexpected. A moment when time seemed to slow down. A fall, a crash, a misstep. A situation where seconds mattered. And somehow, you walked away. Maybe shaken, maybe bruised, but alive. Later, you would hear others say, you were lucky. But luck was not present. Authority was. Heaven intervened in a moment where outcomes should have been different and altered the result without announcement. Some chosen ones faced this first delay in a dangerous environment, growing up surrounded by instability, being placed in situations that were unsafe emotionally, physically, or spiritually. Exposure to chaos at an age when safety should have been guaranteed. Yet something kept you from fully being consumed by it. You observed more than you absorbed. You survived without becoming what surrounded you. That restraint was not self-made. That was divine containment. God allowed you to pass through the environment without being claimed by it. And for many, the first delay was not external at all. It was emotional collapse. A season when the mind carried more weight than it should have. A period of despair, numbness, or deep confusion. Moments where giving up felt easier than continuing. Times when hope dimmed dangerously low. Yet somehow something inside you held on. Not because you were strong, but because you were guarded. Heaven does not always intervene by changing circumstances. Sometimes it intervenes by stabilizing the soul just enough to survive the storm. This first delay often happens quietly. There are no thunderclaps, no announcements, no visible miracles. Angels intervene without spectacle. They redirect without noise. They block paths without confrontation. They whisper caution when danger approaches. They stand between you and what you cannot yet see. This is why many chosen ones don't remember the exact moment clearly. It feels blurry, distant, almost minimized. But the spiritual significance was immense. Angelic intervention is rarely dramatic. It is subtle, a delay, a distraction, a sudden tiredness, a missed connection, a feeling that says, "Don't go," a moment where you pause without knowing why. Angels do not draw attention to themselves. Their assignment is preservation, not recognition. And in your first delay, they were already present, already active, already guarding what God had marked. Chosen one of the most revealing things about this first delay is how often it is forgotten or minimized. You may look back now and say, "It wasn't that serious," or "Others went through worse," or "I was fine." But that is because protection did its job so well that danger never reached its full expression. You survived without seeing how close the edge truly was. This is common among chosen ones, because when God intervenes early, He often removes the memory of fear along with the threat itself. The trauma does not fully attach. The damage does not fully root. The weight does not fully settle. And later in life, you only feel a faint echo of something that could have taken you out completely. That faint echo is the residue of a delay you were never meant to remember in detail. But now, with spiritual clarity, you can see it. That season was not ordinary hardship. It was not random struggle. It was the first moment heaven said, "This life is not finished." Your assignment had not yet unfolded. Your awareness had not yet awakened. Your voice had not yet been refined. So God delayed what could have ended the story. Chosen one, the first delay is significant because it set a pattern. It established a truth in the spiritual realm. You are protected. Once heaven intervenes, once it confirms ownership, it declares jurisdiction, it marks territory. Darkness learns early that your life is not easily accessible, that there is resistance around you, that attempts will not go uncontested. This is why, even if life remained difficult afterward, something always kept you moving forward. Something always pulled you back from the edge. Something always preserved a part of you untouched. That was not resilience alone. That was divine guardianship. The first delay was quiet, but it was powerful. It happened before you understood, before you believed, before you were aware. And that is what makes it so important. God protected you before you ever asked Him to. You should have been lost in that season. But heaven said no. And because heaven said no then, your story was allowed to continue. toward everything you are stepping into now. The second delay, the moment that changed your path. Chosen one, the second delay is different from the first. The first delay preserved your life quietly, often before you were aware. But the second delay changed your direction. This was the moment when your life could have continued down a path that looked normal, logical, or even exciting. But God intervened and rerouted you. Not to punish you, not to restrict you, but to save you from destruction you could not yet see. This second delay usually comes as a near miss. Not necessarily something that would have ended your life immediately, but something that would have ended your destiny. A relationship that almost went too far. A decision that would have locked you into the wrong future. An opportunity that looked promising but carried hidden consequences. A path that felt right to your emotions but was wrong for your assignment. And at the last moment, something shifted. You didn't always recognize it as divine at the time. It may have felt frustrating, disappointing, confusing. You may have felt angry that things didn't work out. You may have questioned why doors closed when you were ready to walk through them. But now, looking back, you can see it clearly. If that situation had continued, you would not be who you are today. That was not coincidence. That was God rerouting you. This is how the second delay works. God doesn't just block danger. He redirects desire. He interrupts momentum. He slows you down when speed would have led you into loss. You were moving towards something with confidence, and suddenly the energy shifted. The plan collapsed. The relationship ended. The opportunity disappeared. Or you lost interest without explanation. That loss felt painful in the moment, but it was actually preservation disguised as disappointment. Many chosen ones experience this second delay in early adulthood, when choices begin shaping long-term direction. Career decisions, relationship commitments, lifestyle paths, identity formation. This is the season when the enemy tries a different strategy. Instead of destroying you outright, darkness tries to misalign you. If it cannot end your life, it tries to redirect your future. But God steps in and says, "Not this way." The second delay often feels sudden. One day everything is moving forward, and the next day everything stops. Plans unravel quickly. People change unexpectedly. Circumstances flip without warning. You may have felt disoriented, like the ground shifted beneath you. That disorientation was not chaos. It was course correction. God turned you away from something that would have cost you years, peace, or spiritual clarity. And here is something many chosen ones don't realize until much later. This delay was often preceded by warning, not always loud, not always obvious. Sometimes it came through a quiet unease you couldn't explain, a hesitation in your spirit, a recurring thought that said, "Something feels off." Other times it came through prophetic dreams, dreams where you were running but couldn't move forward, dreams where a path collapsed, dreams where you were warned to stop, turn back, or wait. You may not have understood those dreams at the time, but they were heaven preparing you for the reroute. God speaks before he intervenes. He warns before he redirects. And if you look back honestly, you will see that your spirit was alerted before the delay happened. You just didn't yet have the language to interpret it. That does not make you disobedient. It makes you human. God never expects full understanding. He provides protection anyway. Chosen one, the second delay is often where your values begin to shift. After the reroute, you are no longer the same. You question things you once accepted. You hesitate where you once rushed. You become more discerning, more reflective, more cautious with your energy and decisions. That is not fear. That is wisdom earned through divine intervention. God slowed you down so you could grow up spiritually. This delay is also where many chosen ones experience their first conscious awareness of God's involvement in their life. You begin to sense that something unseen is guiding you. You start noticing patterns. You realize that certain outcomes keep being blocked for a reason. This is often the season where prayer becomes real, not religious, but personal, not formal, but honest, because you start to understand that someone has been steering you all along. The enemy's plan during this season was subtle destruction. Not a sudden end, but a slow derailment. A future that looked stable but would have drained your spirit. A path that appeared successful but would have disconnected you from your purpose. God intervened because your assignment could not survive in the direction you were heading. So he delayed the outcome and redirected the route. And just like the first delay, this one often gets minimized later. You might say, "It just didn't work out," or "That wasn't meant for me." But spiritually, this was a major checkpoint. Heaven stepped in again and said, "This life is still needed, but not on this path." Chosen one, the second delay did more than save you. It repositioned you. It altered your timeline so you could arrive where you are now with clarity instead of regret. It protected you from becoming successful in the wrong direction. It saved you from building a life that looked good but felt empty. And though it hurt in the moment, it preserved the version of you that could still respond to God's call. If God had not delayed you then, you would not recognize truth now. If he had not rerouted you, you would not be aligned today. That moment changed your path because heaven intervened again, quietly, firmly, intentionally. And now, as you stand here looking back, you can finally say with understanding, "That delay saved me." The third delay, the one you felt deeply. Chosen one, the third delay is different from the first two in one critical way. You felt this one deeply. This was not something that passed quietly or went unnoticed. This delay shook you. It left an emotional imprint. It lingered in your thoughts. It changed the way you saw life, danger, purpose, and protection. This was the moment when survival stopped feeling accidental and started feeling intentional. Unlike the first delay, which you may barely remember, and the second delay, which redirected your path, the third delay reached into your emotions and awakened your spirit. This was the moment that made you pause and ask, "Why am I still here?" Not out of fear, but out of awareness. Something inside you knew this was bigger than coincidence. You sensed that something unseen had stepped in again. But this time, you recognized it. This delay often came during a season when you were already vulnerable, emotionally stretched, spiritually searching, mentally exhausted. You were carrying weight. And then the moment arrived. A situation that could have ended everything. A collapse that came too close, a breaking point that felt final. And when it passed, when you realized you were still standing, it didn't feel like relief alone. It felt like revelation. The emotional impact was strong because this delay touched more than your body. It touched your identity. You felt gratitude mixed with confusion, peace mixed with trembling, calm mixed with awe. You may have cried afterward without fully understanding why. You may have sat in silence, replaying the moment again and again, not in fear, but in disbelief. This is because your spirit recognized what your mind could not yet explain. Heaven had intervened again. And unlike the earlier delays, this one was often followed by a strong spiritual encounter. Not always dramatic, not always visible, but undeniable. You felt God closer than before. You felt watched over, guarded, surrounded. Some chosen ones experienced vivid dreams afterward, dreams filled with light, warnings, reassurance, or clarity. Others felt a sudden hunger for spiritual truth, a desire to pray, a need to understand what had just happened. That hunger was not curiosity, it was awakening. This third delay is where discernment increases sharply. Before this moment, you may have sensed things vaguely. After it, you knew. You knew when something was off. You knew when danger was near. You knew when to walk away without explanation. Your intuition sharpened almost overnight. You became more alert, more observant, more spiritually aware. That awareness did not come from fear. It came from protection being revealed. Chosen one. This is often the moment when spiritual awakening truly begins. You stop seeing life as random. You stop believing survival is accidental. You begin to recognize patterns. You notice how certain situations always collapse before harming you. You realize how often timing works in your favor in ways that don't make sense. This realization doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you reverent. You become aware that your life is being guided. This is also the delay where many chosen ones first feel purpose pressing in. You may not know what your assignment is yet, but you know it exists. You feel it in the way your thinking changes, in the way you start asking deeper questions, in the way superficial things lose meaning. You begin to feel that your life matters beyond survival, that you were spared for something. The enemy intended this moment to end you, or at least to break you emotionally. But God turned it into an awakening point. Instead of trauma owning you, awareness rose within you. Instead of fear taking root, clarity took hold. Instead of confusion, direction began forming. This is why the third delay leaves such a strong imprint. It becomes a reference point in your life, a line between before and after. Many chosen ones say, "After that moment, I was never the same." And they are right. After the third delay, you cannot return to unconscious living. You cannot ignore intuition anymore. You cannot silence discernment. You cannot pretend life is meaningless. Heaven made itself known to you, not through fear, but through preservation. This is also where the sense of being protected for a reason becomes undeniable. You realize that survival alone is not the gift. The reason behind it is. You begin to feel responsibility, not pressure, awareness, not burden. You understand that being spared carries meaning, that being preserved implies assignment. And that realization humbles you. Chosen one, this third delay is sacred. It is the moment heaven allowed you to feel the intervention so you would finally understand it. God did not want you to walk blindly anymore. He wanted you awake, aware, aligned. So he allowed this delay to reach your heart as well as your life. This is why after this moment you began changing. Your priorities shifted. Your tolerance dropped. Your faith deepened. Your spirit sharpened. You may not have had all the answers, but you had confirmation. You knew, without doubt, that your life was being guarded intentionally, and that knowledge changed everything. The third delay was not just preservation. It was revelation. It was awakening. It was the moment you understood. I am still here for a reason. Signs your life is now spiritually protected. Chosen one, after the third delay, something permanent shifted around you. Protection did not just visit you, it settled on you. Your life entered a different spiritual jurisdiction. The reason you sense things differently now is because you are no longer moving through life uncovered. Heaven has placed a guard over your steps, and the signs of that protection have been showing up quietly, consistently, and unmistakably. One of the clearest signs is heightened intuition. You know things before they happen. You sense danger before it appears. You feel unease without explanation, and later discover there was something to avoid. This is not anxiety. This is discernment. Your spirit receives information faster than logic can process it. When protection is active, intuition becomes a warning system. You don't need evidence. You don't need confirmation. You just know. And when you listen, you are preserved. Another sign is how often you escape danger repeatedly. Not once, not twice, but consistently. Situations dissolve before becoming harmful. Problems miss you narrowly. People reveal themselves just in time. You arrive late and avoid an incident. You leave early and miss chaos. You change plans and unknowingly step out of harm's path. This repetition is not coincidence, it is pattern, and patterns reveal design. Heaven has learned how to reroute you without alarming you. You've also noticed doors closing suddenly, sometimes without explanation. Opportunities vanish. Relationships end abruptly. Paths that seemed promising collapse overnight. At first, this feels frustrating, but later, clarity comes. You see what those doors would have cost you. Protection does not always feel kind in the moment. It feels firm. God closes doors not because you are wrong, but because what's behind them is not safe for your assignment. Closed doors are one of heaven's most consistent shields. Another unmistakable sign is awareness of angelic presence. You may not see angels, but you sense them. A calm that arrives suddenly, a peace that interrupts fear, a feeling of being watched over rather than watched. Moments where you feel surrounded, steadied, guided. Protection carries presence. You are not walking alone, even when no one is beside you. Heaven assigned guardians because your life requires supervision beyond the natural. Perhaps the most powerful sign is your calm during chaos. Situations that rattle others do not shake you the same way. Emergencies arise, yet you remain steady. Pressure builds, but panic does not take root. This calm is not emotional numbness, it is spiritual authority. When you are protected, fear loses its grip. You trust outcomes before they arrive. You remain grounded while others spiral. That calm is not personality, it is covering. You also notice that your reactions have changed. You don't rush. You don't chase. You don't force outcomes. You pause. You observe. You wait. And waiting protects you. Chosen ones under protection move differently. They don't need to prove anything. They don't need to be everywhere. They don't need to respond to every call. Silence becomes safety. Discernment becomes defense. Another sign is spiritual redirection without struggle. You lose interest in things that once attracted you. You feel repelled by environments that used to excite you. This is protection operating internally. God doesn't just block danger externally, He removes appetite for it. When desire disappears, temptation loses access. That is advanced protection. You may also notice that truth reveals itself faster now. People expose themselves without confrontation. Situations unravel on their own. Lies surface without investigation. This is not because you are suspicious. It's because light surrounds you. Darkness cannot hide where protection is active. God exposes what could harm you before it has time to attach. Chosen one. These signs are not temporary. They are the evidence of preservation becoming permanent. You are not untouchable, but you are guarded. You are not invincible, but you are covered. Heaven is involved in your daily movement because your life matters beyond the moment. If this resonates, if you recognize these patterns in your life, this is your final moment to respond. Type 777 in the comments as a declaration that you recognize the protection over your life and receive it with gratitude. Because chosen one, when God delays death, He does not leave life unguarded. He surrounds it, He guides it, He preserves it. And now you are living inside that protection. Why God kept you alive. Chosen one, now we arrive at the heart of this message. After every delay, every intervention, every moment of protection, the question remains, why are you still here? The answer is not random and it is not small. God kept you alive because your assignment is not finished. Heaven does not preserve what has no purpose. If your life was guarded, redirected, and spared repeatedly, it is because something ahead of you requires your presence. Your assignment is not measured only by what you do, but by who you are becoming. Some assignments are public, others are quiet, some are seen, others unfold behind the scenes, but all are intentional. God does not rush assignments, and He does not reveal them before the vessel is ready. Many chosen ones are kept alive long before they understand why, because the assignment matures with time, wisdom, and surrender. You are still here because you are still being prepared. You carry something others don't. This is not superiority. It is responsibility. You carry awareness, depth, discernment, and spiritual sensitivity that did not come from comfort. It came from survival. It came from pressure. It came from being preserved through moments that reshaped your soul. What you carry cannot be taught quickly, and it cannot be downloaded without experience. God allowed you to live because your life itself became part of your qualification. Your presence shifts environments even when you say nothing. Your story carries weight even when untold. Your empathy reaches places words cannot. You understand pain without glorifying it. You understand protection without denying danger. That balance is rare. That balance is needed. God kept you alive because the world does not need more noise. It needs people who carry truth quietly and steadily. Your survival is also tied to others. Not everyone you will impact will know your name. Not every seed you plant will bloom in front of you. Some people will be spared because you spoke when you didn't have to. Others will be healed because you listened when no one else did. Some will awaken simply because they saw how you lived after what you survived. This is how God works. He preserves one life to touch many others. There are people who will find clarity because you exist. There are people who will regain hope because your presence proves survival is possible. There are people who will awaken spiritually because they recognize something different in you. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to announce it. Your life will speak for itself. God kept you alive because your survival is connected to others' restoration. You may not see this yet, and that is okay. Most living testimonies don't recognize themselves while they are still unfolding. A testimony is not only something spoken, it is something lived. You are a living testimony even if no platform has found you yet, even if no audience sees you, even if your impact feels small. Heaven measures differently. God measures faithfulness, not visibility. Many chosen ones mistake obscurity for insignificance, but obscurity is often protection. God keeps some vessels hidden until their presence is needed. If your life has been preserved quietly, it may be because your assignment requires humility, stability, and grounding. Loud calling is not always deep calling. Some of the most powerful assignments happen quietly, in moments that never make headlines but change lives permanently. Chosen one, God kept you alive because your story is not finished being written. The chapters you survived were preparation, not conclusion. The pressure you endured was shaping your capacity, not ending your journey. The delays were not denial, they were timing adjustments. Heaven slowed the timeline so the message would be carried correctly. You are not here by accident. You are not lingering without purpose. You are not waiting for something meaningless. You are being positioned. There is a moment ahead where your survival will make sense, not all at once, but clearly enough to know God was intentional. And even if that moment comes quietly, without applause, it will matter. Because one aligned life can do more than 1,000 ungrounded ones. God kept you alive because alignment was more important than speed. Depth was more important than display. Preparation was more important than exposure. Chosen one, you are not merely someone who survived. You are someone who was preserved. And preservation always points forward. It always means something is still required, something is still expected, something is still unfolding. You are alive because heaven is not done writing through you. And when the moment comes, whether seen or unseen, you will understand why every delay mattered. You were preserved on purpose. Chosen one, as we close this message, I want you to let one truth settle deep into your spirit. Your survival was not luck. It was not chance. It was not random timing. It was not coincidence. You are still here because heaven decided you are still needed. Every delay, every intervention, every moment that spared you was intentional. God does nothing accidentally, especially when it comes to preserving a life He authored with purpose. You were not preserved because you were perfect. You were preserved because you were appointed. Heaven does not guard empty vessels. It guards assignments. It guards destinies. It guards futures that carry weight beyond the present moment. When death was delayed in your life, it was not fear that stepped in. It was authority. God stepped into your timeline and declared, "This story does not end here." There were moments when the world counted you out, moments when logic said you should have been lost, moments when the outcome looked sealed. And yet something always interrupted the ending. That interruption was not weakness. It was protection. The same hand that formed you refused to release you before your time. The The same voice that called you into being stood between you and destruction and said no. Chosen one, hear this clearly and without doubt. You were delayed because you are needed. Needed in ways you may not fully understand yet. Needed in places you may not have reached yet. Needed by people you may not have met yet. Needed for moments that have not arrived yet. God does not rush what He intends to use. He preserves it until the appointed time. Your life carries purpose that extends beyond survival. Your breath carries intention. Your presence carries influence. Even when unseen, even when unnoticed, even when uncelebrated, your life matters in ways heaven sees clearly. You are kept alive because your existence itself is part of the plan. There are words you will speak, decisions you will make, moments you will show up for, and lives you will impact simply by being who you are becoming. You are not here to relive the past. You are here to fulfill what the past prepared you for. The delays were not setbacks. They were safeguards. They were heaven protecting you until you were ready to carry what comes next. And what comes next does not require fear. It requires faith, obedience, and trust. You are protected, not recklessly, not randomly, but intentionally. God has surrounded your life with covering because what you carry cannot afford careless exposure. You are guided. You are watched over. You are kept. This does not mean you will never face challenges again, but it means no challenge will have authority to erase what God has preserved. Chosen one, your destiny is still unfolding. It may not look dramatic, it may not look fast, it may not look obvious to others. But heaven is not concerned with appearances. Heaven is concerned with fulfillment. And fulfillment takes time, refinement, and readiness. You are in that process now. Let go of the idea that you were spared for nothing. Let go of the thought that survival alone was the goal. Survival was the beginning. Preservation was the promise. Purpose is the destination. You were not delayed to live cautiously. You were delayed to live intentionally. You were not spared to hide. You were spared to stand. You were not kept alive to question your worth. You were kept alive because heaven already settled it. So walk forward with confidence, not arrogance. Confidence, not fear. Assurance, not hesitation, clarity. You do not need to prove why you survived. You only need to live in alignment with the fact that you did. Chosen one, if this message has spoken to your spirit, do not keep it to yourself. Subscribe to this channel so you stay connected to these messages of clarity and truth. Share this word with someone who needs to understand why they are still here. And rise with us, quietly, steadily, purposefully, into everything heaven preserved you for. Because you were not meant to be gone. You were preserved on purpose, and your story is not over yet.